Hi and welcome or welcome back. Clown makeup we can excuse. I did it because I was #bored. I'm not going to take it off just because I was like, maybe I should film a video because it's kind of embarrassing. I have one video up and I actually don't need to do anything in the day, so probably should have done this a bit sooner. But I was on Holly Bob's in my defense. But today I'm going to be discussing books that remain in my mind. And preface, I've got lots of things I need to say before I start the video because I don't know, disclaimers are really cool. But this is not a list of my favourite books or the best books I've ever read. A lot of these books are on this list because I didn't like them. There's just books that I think about frequently, and these are all books, a lot of these books I read ages ago and haven't reread, like in years, like ages ago, like 2022, ages ago, but they remain on my mind. So if I get some of the plots wrong or if I make details, oh my god, fucking speech is so good. But if I forget details or I get something wrong, I'm so sorry. I'm not really gonna go into the plots that much. But also my chair's squeaky, I'm so sorry. But if I've not read them in 3 years, I'm not gonna remember everything. And I'm not gonna reread a bunch of books to make a single YouTube video. Like let's be so serious. Let's get so for real. But these are just books that remain in my consciousness, or I talk about, or I think about, or whatever. And my preferred genre of books nowadays anyways is I like books about women. I like books that are kind of freaky, a bit strange. I like to read a lot of like translated, specifically like Japanese translated fiction. I don't read non-fiction really. I have some books, but none that I made on this list, because I don't really care for the genre. But I read translated fiction because I always find the themes a bit more interesting and a bit more like, I don't know, you know, if you read some of the books to me, then you'll get that. But also a lot of these books aren't even really that because I read them 3 years ago. But I try to read, I'm not like a super avid reader, I try to read 20 books a year. I'd like that number to go up this year, but I've been busy with uni stuff, so I've been a bit slow. But I'll lock in, I'm sure. Maybe at the end of the year I'll do a video about the books I've read this year or something. I don't really know. I don't really care. But yeah, if you disagree with me, there's gonna be one section which is gonna be really controversial, I fear. But if you disagree for any of the things I say, argue with me in the comments, and then we can enemies to lovers in the YouTube comment section over fuck ass books. But yeah, I don't really know how much I'm gonna say about each book. Also, I'm going to be so upset when I have to post this because obviously I want you to read what's on the books. So I flipped the video because I hate seeing my fringe the opposite direction, and I know there's only the opposite direction to me and everyone else sees me that way, but I'm like, it looks so wrong, but I want you to read what's on the books. So my fringe dysmorphia, but whatever, let's get started, shall we? First book is Heaven by Miyako Kawakami, and I've read 3 of her books, which is a lot because I'm not really an author person, I'm a book person. So this is like the only author I've read more than 2 books from. I'd like to read more if I find copies, but this is a good book. I like this book a lot. I've reread it a good few times. It was one of the first books I kind of read when I was getting into reading, so I started reading again in 2022. So take that how you want, but Heaven is my favourite of the 3 I've read. It's the first one I read. But it's about this kid who gets bullied in school and befriends another kid who gets bullied in school, and yeah, which doesn't sound very interesting plot wise. I feel like a lot of these books won't sound interesting plot wise because I'm not really that into plot. I like characters. I am so very sociology student with the books I read. But yeah, I think the characters in this book are really interesting, and I think commentary on like morals and bullying are very interesting. There's a monologue by one of the bullies in this book, which feels like a very silly word. Bully is such a goofy word. But there's like a monologue in it, and I think it's a very interesting perspective. And then the girl that he befriends, the protagonist befriends in this book, I think her perspective is really interesting, and it's also very different to the protagonists. And basically every single book on this list requires trigger warnings, so trigger warning if you want to read this. And if I know you in the real life and you want to read any of these, hit me up, you can borrow it. I'm not really picky. My books are fucking beaten because I don't like put them on a shelf, treat them kindly, shove them in a bag. But Heaven I go back to frequently. I think I reread it last year, so it's still quite fresh in my brain, but I really like this book. I think it's great, and I just love, it's really easy to read. I find it really easy to read. I just love how the characters think in it. I love the girl that the protagonist befriends, and the more I've read it, the more I like the protagonist as well. Not to say he's an unlikable character. I know my fair share of unlikable male protagonists, but we'll get to it. If you know me, you'll know what we're gonna get to. But just based on that alone. But I like the male protagonist in this as well. I think that he's an interesting character, lives an interesting life. But yeah, it's good. It's good. I like the book. And I'd love to read more Kawakami books, but this one's my favourite. So yeah, I already said I think that this is not my favourite books list. It's just books that I've read, but that one's a favourite book, and so is a book I'm about to get to. So whatever. This is A Pale View of Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I've read Clara and the Sun by him as well. And I know like Remains of the Day, I think that's what it's called, and like Never Let Me Go are really popular. But I read Pale View of Hills first. So I need to read more. I really like the way he writes. Clara and the Sun and Clara and the Sun. I think that's what it's called anyway. The robot one. I had feelings about this one. I love this book. It's one of my favourite books. It's about this woman who lives in England now, and she's reflecting on her life in a post-war Japan and like a friendship she had over a summer there, and I really love it. I don't want to say too much about it because I think I don't want to spoil it, but this book is like, it's a good book to read, and then once you get to the end, rereading it, lovely experience. Like it's I don't think it's a book where it's like, oh, I wish I could read it again for the first time. Like I enjoy reading it knowing what I know by the end, you know. And I made my friend Thomas read this book. We did a book swap, and I had to read a non-fiction book. So terribly sad. I made him read this, and he didn't really get the end, and then I explained it, and he was like, oh, okay. It's not his kind of book really, but I really love this, and it's really short. It's really easy to read. It's a lovely, easy, short read, and I love the themes of like guilt and grief. This is definitely a character analysis book more than a plot book, I think, and I love a bit of an unreliable narrator as well. But rereading this book is a lovely experience. I do it frequently. I do it yearly. I need to reread it this year probably. But it's just so interesting. I think about her often. I don't think she's a particularly like mind-blowing concept of a book, but I just love it. I love it, you know. Like it's just one of those books that I read, and she's just stuck with me. I'm really on the Japanese on the train. This is Out by Natsuo, I think's first name, Kirino. And this book is on here for both good and bad reasons, but mostly bad. I read this 3 years ago, so I don't really remember that much of it. I've not reread it since because it's kind of a bit big. And I know that this is not a big book by some people's standards, but I like a good clean 200 to 300 page book, you know, because I'm lazy and I like to get through books. I also feel like thematically the books I read do not need to be this long, but this is a murder mystery book, which I've not really read. Actually, I read Cocaine Nights. We'll get to Cocaine Nights actually, even though she's not on the list, but I don't really read that much anymore. But back when I was getting back into reading, that's what I was reading, because that's what I read when I was younger and I really liked. So, but it's got a bit more of a gendered aspect, and it's about these 4, I think there's 4 of them, female factory workers in Japan, and one of them kills her husband, and then they try, it's a murder mystery. And this book, like, my brain's exploded. Different character perspectives, that's what I'm trying to say. It spots between perspectives of the characters. I don't find those kind of books particularly difficult to read. If you do, grow up. But yeah, it's not just like between the workers as well. You've got a lot of random characters or perspective switches and stuff. And yeah, I just remember really being invested in this book and really liking it. I finished it in school, in sixth form. And like the last like some pages, I don't know, if you've read this book, things happen, and I don't really think it's quite in character for one of the main characters, and it's also very trigger warning, and also very, I felt unnecessary for the book. I don't know where I don't know what I would have wanted as a different end to the book, but I sat there and I was genuinely a bit gobsmacked at how I read all of this book, and then that's the ending it gave me. Like, it like remains the most disappointing ending of a book I've ever read, which is probably why I've not reread it. But this was like a 5-star book as I was reading it. I was like, this is so good, I'm so invested. And maybe I would disagree with that now, but at the time I was like, this fucks, this is so good. And then I got to end and I was like, okay, I just wasted my time with that. And it's still a good book, don't get me wrong, I just really cannot comprehend why that was the ending chosen for it. And I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil the book in case you want to go and read it, which go read it, like still read it, I don't care. I just thoroughly don't understand the logic behind it, and I think it really ruined, it ruined the book for me a bit. It ruined one of the characters at least, very much so. But I don't know, maybe if I reread it I'd understand where it came from more, but I just remember at the time I just could not comprehend like why. Like it was like it just kind of came out of nowhere. But that was that. We've got another long freaking book, The Sea by Iris Murdoch. This might be as a surprising book because this is like, I don't know, I guess like a classic. I don't really know, but this is kind of older than what I usually read. I'm a contemporary gal. But it's about this guy who lives by the sea, who moves away from his stardom life to go live by a cliff by the sea. And then like someone he used to date when he was younger and was in love with ends up living in like the village nearby, so he kidnaps her. And it's not like a thriller book, she does kind of just live in the house and is upset, like nothing really, like a lot of this book there's not really any plot so much. I guess there's more plot than some of the other books I tend to read, but the plot kind of is people visit him in his house and he's a grumpy guy. And I just remember reading it and the protagonist being the most insufferable man I've ever read. Like, I just remember being so fucking pissed off with him the whole time. And I read this. I have lots of lore of this book. Number one, why did I pick to read it? Please, if you had any sense of respect for me, if you thought I was at all cool, click off, because I'm going to say some of the lamest things I've ever said. Probably not actually, but there's this infamously long Panic at the Disco fan fiction. When I say long, I mean like 500,000 words long. And as like a ha-ha reflection of something that's happening in the plot, the sea gets mentioned as like a ha-ha hee-hee moment, because in the fan fiction is kind of reminiscing this plot a little bit. So I was like, you know what, if Panic at the Disco fuck off, a fanfic referenced it, I'll read it. Why not? And yeah, and I really struggled to get into it, so I took it to a holiday, a little trip to see family in Poland, and I ended up being ill on the trip. I expected this to take the full week for me to read, and I ended up being ill on the trip, and I finished it in like a day or two because I read quite quickly. And yeah, it's definitely a book. Somebody dies in it. There's some weird spiritual commentary at like nearest the end, I think, that I really don't understand, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the character super much, like kind of just not, I don't really know. That was just a bit random. And this book is just guys visit him and he's really annoying, and he's super annoying, and I don't know if you know this, but the protagonist is really annoying, and I don't even remember why I think that, but I just know I was sat there the whole time being like, shut the fuck up, challenge. Like, I hate male protagonists. But yeah, it's it's a book I've read. That's what I really want to say about that. Also, I'm throwing books onto my bed, so it's not like I'm throwing them out wall. They are just bouncing off my duvet. They're fine. I say I don't care, whatever. I don't have to defend myself to a faceless crowd. If you want to argue me in the comments, do it. No, I'm joking. I'm not joking about doing it, but you can do that. But yeah, the sea. I think about. She was one of those books I was like, oh, I can't wait to be done with her. Then like I finished it, and then I was like, dang, I'm still thinking about this fuck ass book. But anyways, Virgin Suicides. This is, I was gonna say maybe the most popular book in this thing. I've not watched the film. Sacrilege, I know. I've watched many a video essay about it though. The video's essays being, wow, girl pain, so romanticized. And it's like, okay, cool, I know. But I read the book, and I don't want to sound uneducated or like an idiot when I say this. I'm aware the point of this book is that if you don't know the plot, these girls kill themselves. Like these sisters kill themselves, and the book's in the perspective of guys who like grew up around them and stuff, kind of reflecting on maybe why they did that and like their interactions with the girls, hence the romanticization of female pain. And I'm aware the point of the book is that the guys don't get it, and I'm aware, at least that's what I think the point of the book is. I'm aware that's like what the book is. I'm aware the book's specifically written from the male perspective. However, I would have much rather it written from the girls' perspectives. That's what I find interesting. I would rather know from the girls themselves why they killed themselves, not these guys who like live near them, why they think that they killed themselves. They don't really care because they're attractive. I want to see the girls' perspectives. And like, I know it's like, oh, I read a book that I would have rather had a different premise, and then I didn't like the book. Like, you should have just read the book. Like, just why did you read the book if you weren't gonna like it? I don't know, because I can, and like, I don't know, I had faith that maybe I could be swayed, but it turns out I can't be swayed, and I would just rather read from the girls' perspectives. But the problem is the book, like, I don't know, it's got quite a cult following to it, and I just don't fall into that. I really don't care. I really don't care about what men have to say about women suffering. Sorry. If everyone has a go at me for not getting the book, I'm actually going to, I don't know, I'm going to end up on the news. I'm going to go to a river and turn into a trout. That's that. What's this one? J.G. Ball's Crash. I like the film of this as well. I'm going to talk about Cocaine Nights as well throughout this. I have Cocaine Nights in my basement. I just don't really think about to get it, but like now that I do think about it, that is kind of a book I think about frequently. I find his writing style kind of clunky to read. I find it, I feel like I do actively have to pay attention to the words, which I know that's how a reading works, but I feel like I have to extra hone in, specifically with Cocaine Nights. And I'm just, whatever. So Cocaine Nights is like a murder mystery, and the ending really upset. It took me so long to get through because I was reading it like while I was traveling between uni and stuff, and I read for uni, so it was just like, oh, I'm reading more, but I got through it. And the ending of the book was just like, once I actually got into it, I was like, oh, maybe I'm actually quite interested in the book. And the end is just like a monologue disposition about like the murder that took place and stuff, and just telling you what happened. And I'm just like, I'd rather you just go through all of this and tell me like throughout the book, which I'm aware also is not the point of the book. I'm aware, guys, I know it's not the point of the book. I really highly doubt any of you have read Cocaine Nights by J.G. Ballard, but whatever. But I just was a bit disappointed by it. I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. Especially, I really love Crash. Kind of clunky writing style still with this. Though maybe I'm just making that up because I'm lazy. But it's about car crash fetishists. That's all there is to it. They recreate famous car crashes and get off to it. They're planning a big car crash. Like the most perfect car crash. The most fuckable car crash. And this is great postmodern literature. I love a discussion between the connection between like technology and humans and sex. That's severely up my alley. So car crash fetishists, banger. I really love this book. It's a freaky book. It's a freaky book. Now, I'm going to hold something. I need to hold something before I crash out. I'm going to hold... I don't know, actually. I'm going to hold this hole punch in the shape of a flower. But I'll talk about this next one. I should have just grabbed a book from the genre because I've read a few. This next book I don't have a physical copy of because I borrowed it from my girlfriend at the time when I read it. And that is Norwegian Wood by Murakami. And I fucking hate Norwegian Wood. It plagues me. I think of her so often and not in a good way. If I ever meet a guy who actually is like, my favourite book's Norwegian Wood, best believe I'm going to be bullying the fuck out of him. Because I just hate it. You flick to a random page and it's probably a mediocre sex scene between one of the 3 girls who are severely mentally ill and somehow still want the male protagonist despite him doing nothing, ever. And like 3 people kill themselves, I think, in this book. I just remember there being like too many suicides in the book for no reason. Which, talking about the virgin suicides like 2 seconds ago is kind of funny, but purposeless they felt. It's just like, I'm so sad, but I pull bitches. I'm a man and I'm sad and I pull bitches. I don't care. Kill yourself. The girls in this book should have started like a support group. They should have started the polycule without him in it. I don't remember the protagonist's name. I also read it 3 years ago and I still have this much hatred for it. But I hate a sad man book. I don't care. And I see people, I feel the same way about No Longer Human, which is downstairs in my basement. I should have just brought it up here as my example book. But I don't care if it was the last book he wrote before he killed himself. If I don't fuck with it, I don't fuck with it. But that might be a controversial take. Do I care? Nope. But it's just so, like, I don't care about someone wallowing in their own self-pity, the consequences of their own actions. Oh, I'm so sad, oh, I'm so sad. You have no reason to be. It's really not that deep, is it? You just want to be sad because you want to have a tortured poets thing about you. And it's just miserable to read. And I sit there and I'm like, this is your biggest problem in life. Like, this is what you think is like the worst thing that ever happened to a person ever. And it's just they're a little bit upset about someone being a little bit mean to them or something. That's all it is. There's like virtually no plot from what I remember in Norwegian Wood either. The plot is just, girl want me bad. Oh my god, get a grip, get over yourself. And it's like, I don't know, it always just feels like like the author's circle jerk of like misery. That's what it feels like. Like, it always just feels like I can't pull bitches in real life, so I'm going to write self-insert who can. And Murakami, I don't have a visual to see if I'm saying his name correct, but you know who I'm talking about. I'm aware has a lovely writing style. I'm sure if I read any of his other books, I'd probably like them infinitely more than Norwegian Wood. But the fact that people like Norwegian Wood full stop confuses me. Because no matter how well written a book is, if the plot's ridiculous and it's just a guy being sad and having sex, why do I care about the book? Why would I spend my time reading it? Why do any of you spend your time reading it? Like, I need someone to genuinely defend this book to me that isn't just the way he writes is nice. Because, to be honest, that's the only defense I've ever seen of it. And I think it's ridiculous. And, like, everyone I know in real life who's read this book doesn't like it. Which is the correct take to have. But, oh my god, I hate Norwegian Wood. I'm really calm. This is the calmest I've ever been about Norwegian Wood. If I go into a Waterstones and I see it on the shelf, best believe I'm pulling out my phone, getting on my close friend's story, taking a little picture and going, guys, it's my enemy, I hate this book, I hate them, blah, 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 and tweaking out. That's what it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. And I'm not sorry about it. And you can call me a man-hating feminist any day of the week. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go jerk off to that. Chill out, but whatever. The last two books I have are actually my favourite books and the best books I've read. So I'm going to start with, this is the best thing I've ever found. Picture this. I go to a charity shop. I never look at the books in charity shops. This one day I'm like, maybe I should go look at the books. Books are 50p each. What do I spot? Stonebridge Blues by Leslie Feinberg. And this might mean nothing to you, but this is like the lesbian book of all time. And finding like a copy in the wild, crazy work. Finding a copy in the wild where I live, especially. What lesbian died? But I think this is one of the books I think everyone in the world should read. It's a fiction book, but it's like a, it's got you know, experiences from Feinberg's life. And it's about being a butch in like the 50s and 60s and what that experience is like, and talks about, you know, transitioning, gender non-conformity, unions and stuff. And you can get free PDF of this online, and you can also just order a copy to print, and everyone in the world should read this book. And I wept like a baby, like tears, sobbing. I've never cried so much in my life reading a book when I first read this book, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I really like it's not, I'm not a big romance book person, but there is romance in this, but it's written in such a beautiful way, and it's like to drive the story forward. And obviously it's about butches, so it's about relationship between a butch and a femme, and butch and whatever. And oh my god, it's so incredibly good. Like it's actually the book of all time, I think. I've never read anything so good in my life. I genuinely think everyone in the world should read this. And I just love it so much. Like, I cannot, like, this changed my life when I first read it. It changed my life. And especially in a time where I go on a fuck-ass Twitter, and there's always discourse about everything ever, and I'm just like, guys, let's just hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and read Soap Please together. Like, guys, please, because I don't get myself involved in queer discourse. I was gonna say I'm too employed for that. I'm not. I'm just too, I don't care about that. But she's so gorgeous. And I love in this book, it's not like a political book. Well, it is inherently a political book, but main character isn't like a political hero. A lot of the time in the book are specifically very uninterested in politics. By the end, gets into it. But it's not like this is a book about a queer leader leading the rebellion. It's not. It's just about a butch who lives, and it's gorgeous, and she's so stunning. Oh, if you can't tell, I love this book. Like, I love my firstborn child. Like, if there's a house fire, this is what I'm bringing out. My literal prized possession. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, this is the best book I own. This is actually my prized possession. And if you've ever met me in real life, you would have heard me saying this, because I love it so bad. I'm not throwing it on my bed and pissing it gently. I just dropped my favourite book of all time, which is Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. And if you watched my other video, you might have heard me mention this book, because Time to Dance by Panic! At the Disco is about this book. And I don't really know how to describe the plot of this book without giving too much away, because it's not in a chronological order. You kind of jump between things. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's about this model who gets her jaw shot off, and then she meets this trans woman in the hospital, and then they basically go for a joyride. And then she's reflecting on like her past, like her brother, and like her old best friends in modelling and stuff, and which makes the plot of this book sound really boring. Actually, not really, but like, this is a great character study book, and I really reread this year. This is a yearly reread for me. I've read this 4 times. Not this year, just like in life. And I need to reread it and underline my favourite quotes, which I never write in books, but this is the exception, because every time I sit there, read it, I'm like, that's so good. But thematically, it's about, you know, like beauty and pain and power, and it's stunning. It's gorgeous. This is another I think everyone should read, and it's a fun read. Yes, it bounces around, but I don't find it particularly difficult to follow. So also I've read it 4 times. But yeah, the characters are so interesting, and then also like reading it really lets out my urge of like, I should just like, life should implode, I should like ruin my life, which I'm sure is a very normal thing to feel. If I read this, I'm like, there you go, I'm living vicariously through the book. But there's some banging quotes. This is the author who wrote Fight Club. I've not read Fight Club. I probably should. But this, Invisible Monsters, I'm really normal about this. But this is my favourite book of all time. So if you love me, read it. Basically. But, yep. That's my comprehensive list of books I think about frequently. Hope you enjoyed. Again, if you know me in real life and you want to read any of these books, borrow them, I want them back. Hit me up and I'll let you, except for maybe Stonebush Blues, because I'm a bit protective of her. Though I have let people borrow it before because I'm kind and I am doing the most of the queers in my life, and myself, obviously. But yeah, should I do a roundup of all the books? No, because I'm too lazy, and this is already half an hour long. But yeah, if you want more book content, let me know. But I don't really know what else I'd do book-wise. Unless you want him to be a hater and talk about books I really hate. But I feel like I've done enough Norwegian wood bashing for one video. But yeah, maybe leave book recommendations in the comments or something. Or maybe don't. Yay!